Hi guys, it's Aisling back again to talk to you about the Pilates shoulder bridge today. The bridge is a really nice exercise for glute strengthening as well as improving stability around the pelvis and the SI joints and mobility around the spine, mainly the thoracic and lumbar areas. I'm going to talk to you about the three different levels, or the first three different levels, with a few extra little tips and modifications in there as well. So we'll start off at level 1. So before we start, we just want to make sure that we're in a nice and neutrally aligned position. So we're thinking about feet and knees being hip distance apart, equal weight through both sides, thinking about those 3 points of contact in the feet. So underneath the big toe, the little toe, and then underneath the heels. Pelvis is in a nice neutral position, so we're not tilted forwards, not tilted backwards, we're in neutral. Ribs are down, so we've not flared your ribs up. Rib cage is down, so you can feel contact between the back of the ribs and the floor. This is called imprinting your ribs. Shoulders are just relaxed, melting into the floor, and the chin is in neutral, so the back of the neck is long. And you're going to take a breath in. As you breathe out, we're going to just start to gently engage those lower abdominal muscles that we talked about yesterday and help to initiate a bit of a tilt of the pelvis, so just to tuck the tailbone up between the legs. Then you're going to think about lifting one level of your vertebrae up off the floor at a time. So there's this really nice rolling motion. So it starts with the tailbone and your buttocks, your lower back, and then your middle back. You'll feel your glutes start to kick in around now. So what you want to be careful of is that your ribs are never higher than your hips, which will indicate that you have arched your back and lost that imprinted position of the ribs. So when you're up in the bridge position, you take a breath in just to hold it there. And then as you breathe out, you roll back down. So we're thinking about lowering one level of the spine down at a time, melting it back down into the floor, finishing with the tailbone. So once again, take a breath in before you start. Breathe out as you initiate the tilt, tuck the tailbone, continue lifting the pelvis, lower back, middle back, up off the floor, rolling one level up at a time. Breathe in when you're up in the bridge position and hold it there. And then breathe out as you roll yourself back down, one level of your spine at a time, back into the floor, finishing with the tailbone. So for level 2, it's essentially the same movement, but whilst you're up in a bridge, you then extend one leg. So breathing in to prepare, breathing out, engaging, tucking the tailbone, rolling pelvis and lower back up off the floor, up into the bridge position. Keeping this position here as I breathe in. Then as I breathe out, one leg straightens out in line with the other leg, keeping the hips level. So we're not allowing one hip to dip or drop, keeping the hips level. Breathing in as I bend that knee, breathing out as I roll back down, lowering to the floor. So once again, breathing in to prepare, breathing out, tucking the tailbone, rolling up. Breathing in as I hold that position. Breathe out, straighten one leg out away from me, keeping thighs in line, hips level. Breathe in as I lower that leg back down, keeping the core strong. Breathing out as I roll the spine back down to the floor. Tailbone is the last thing. It's quite a challenging jump from level 1 to level 2. And there are modifications or changes you can make just to bridge the gap a little bit more easily. So a nice way to do it is, rather than extending a leg, you can just lift one heel. So it would look like this: breathing in to prepare, breathing out, rolling up into bridge, breathing in and holding, breathing out, lifting one heel, breathe in and lower, breathe out, lower back down to the floor. So it's quite a nice intermediate level between 1 and 2. If you do find that you're getting any cramping in your hamstrings or anything, it might be that your feet are a little bit too far away. This puts more load through the hamstrings, so make sure that your feet are a bit closer to your bottom if that's happening. So for level 3, it's the same as level 2, but we do alternating. So we're keeping that lifted position as we're swapping from one leg to the other. So you breathe in before you start, breathe out, rolling up, engaging the core, squeezing your glutes, breathing in, holding there, breathe out, straighten one leg, breathe in, lower it back down, breathe out, straighten the other leg, breathe in, lower it back down. So the idea is again that we're keeping the hips nice and level and square. We're not letting hips drop or dip when you straighten one leg. And as well, in the transition from one side to the other, we want to try and keep everything really nice and still. Again, keeping hips level, ribs down, not sticking the chest out, ribs down. And still keeping chin in neutral and shoulders relaxed down on the floor. And then lowering that leg back down, rolling the spine back down as you're breathing out to finish. There are other modifications that you can do for bridge to make it a little bit harder or a little bit easier, but also just vary what you're using, which muscles you're using more than others. So for instance, using things like a ball between your knees, which can just encourage you to use a little bit more of those inner abdominal and pelvic muscles, improving stability around there. You can use bands around your knees, which just encourages a little bit more activation of the outer glutes, the external rotators. And you can also start to use unstable surfaces underneath your feet, which just, again, challenges your balance and therefore your core a little bit more. But yeah, there are lots of different ways that we can make bridge easier or harder or just change it. But they're the first 3 basic levels, with just a couple of little things to be thinking about and trying in between if you want. So I hope that's been helpful. And I'll be back tomorrow with another one of my favourite Pilates exercises. Thank you.